We're telling your followers that you started a live video. I have indeed started a live video, and I'm waiting for a guest to join. Here we go, and here we this hopefully work with hello to Mo Khan 1984. We're going to go live with Planet Auto and talk about what we're going. Hello, Ben. There you are.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well. Been yet another hectic week, as always.
Yeah, no, I saw that. You've been up to lots of no good, I see.
As always, no matter what I do, there's more and more increasing car antics every week without fail.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. So let's go through what you've been up to then.
Right, well, I'm trying to think what... The last time it was Goodwood, wasn't it?
The last time was Goodwood, yeah. That was like 2 weeks ago. We did promise that we'd do this once a week, but we both I think we both kind of got busy last week, so...
yeah, schedules take over, don't they?
Yeah, things just started happening, so it just got a bit hectic. But still, here we are.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. We're going to make this work every week. That's the aim. If it doesn't, then, you know, we'll...
It was good, though. We got a good response off it last time, and for those of you joining us, we are going to put this on, we did last time, put it on both YouTube and on
Anchor.
Podcasting as well, Anchor as well, yeah. So, yeah, if you want to check it out there, then feel free to do so. Hello to,
Word Warp, welcome.
Good to see you guys. So we're here live with, it's Brown Car Guy, live with Planet Auto. And we're talking about cars. We're taking your questions if you have any, and what we've been up to. So you've been driving a fair bit of metal, Ben. Tell me about what sort of really tickled your fancy over the cars you've been trying out recently.
Well, it was quite staggering. It's a real shame that you couldn't make it to that BMW day, because the vehicles that they let me behind the wheel of were quite staggering. You know, I ended up behind the wheel of the M850i. 530 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.9. There's a video of me basically flooring it down a country road up to obviously national speed limit, you know, like we're allowed to.
Obviously.
But you should hear it. It was.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I also drove the X7, an M2. I'm trying to think what else there was.
So what's the X7 like? Because that's the new big SUV with the big grille on it.
Yeah,
what's that like in person?
Weirdly, everybody's been saying about the big grille looking overdone, but when you're actually in its presence, it works exceptionally well. You know, it's quite a good proportion to the rest of the vehicle and really reflects well with the rest of the sculpting. So yeah. I think the one I drove was the, is it the M50i or something like M50D? It was a 5-litre diesel, and it was like
5-litre diesel. Wow.
Yeah, I assume.
How much horsepower is that?
V8 is it? I can't actually think.
I don't know.
No, well that's it.
Are manufacturers still doing diesels? Why are we still doing diesels? I thought we'd all decided that they were bad.
Yeah, well, a lot of them, if you've noticed now, are going the hybrid way, aren't they? For example, I also drove the 745 LE. Now, that was a staggering vehicle, 400 brake horsepower, but it also had the optional 10 grand insert in the rear. So you got rid of the middle seat and put in a tablet and a big system for using things like your footrest and that. So I was driving around whilst Michael was experiencing this chauffeur experience, which was quite mental.
Full business class on the road routine. That's what
completely,
it's all about,
yeah. But with 400 horsepower, where you can basically annihilate a hot hatch in a matter of seconds.
It's for dictators in a rush.
Yeah.
That's what that's for.
Yeah, bulletproof windows and all that.
Yeah, I bet. Oh my God. So the M2 that you drove, tell me, what was that like? Did you drive the competition or the regular one?
No, I went for the standard one. The competition one was there, but I thought it'd be interesting to see how the M2 compared to, say, the other vehicles that I'd driven, like the i8 and the X1 M Sport. Yeah. And it's such a well-planted car, but it's got so much power because
Yeah.
you've got that auto box. It's just there. You know, you've got permanent power.
Yeah.
It's a real driver's car. So it makes me wonder if the competition's possibly a bit raw. I don't actually know.
Yeah, I drove the competition at Yas Marina Circuit, and
Oh, no.
it was very lively. It was very lively. It was quite raw. You're right.
Yeah.
It's just it's set up the way that BMWs kind of used to be set up.
Yes.
Not quite as planted in the safe. So you drove when you drove the and of course Yas Marina is can be a tricky circuit. So you drive around there and you do feel like, oh, okay, if I get this wrong, it's going to be spectacular. But whilst I'm getting it right, I'm loving it. I'm loving every second
exactly.
of it.
Yeah,
I absolutely I jumped out like
360 spin out. Yeah, but that's
seriously.
it. I mean,
I jumped out because we went out in a convoy. We went out in a group of cars, and
nice.
we got back into the track. I was behind the instructor, so the instructor started pushing it a little bit so I could go a little bit quicker. And when I jumped out of the car, when we got back into the pits, I just punched the air, shouted, and the guy came up to me. He did a high five. Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of car.
Yeah. I can believe
awesome,
it. I really can, especially on a track as well, where you can completely unleash. Because I had a driving day, so I had A roads, which is, it's very nice because they set out. BMW really think about the routes that they want to take you on. But when you've got a track, you can use track mode and all types of things, can't you?
Yeah. It's tricky. Have you done much track driving?
No, not really.
I mean, I've done a fair bit, but I still wouldn't call myself a track driver because there's a certain discipline and there's certain techniques and stuff that you have to apply, which, not a lot of people think they know, but they don't necessarily know. So if you sit next to a really good track driver, it opens your eyes as to what you can actually do. But you're right, a track does allow you to start to push the car a little bit and to start to play with it and just to see what it can actually really do on the limit, which, on the public road you can't do. Interesting thing I have learned.
Yeah, well, I noticed that last year we went to the Mitsubishi Outlander launch, and it was held at the Grand Tour's celebrity track, and they got out 3 Evos and a 3000 GT, and there was a Tommy Mackinnon, there was an FQ440, and there was something else, and I can't remember what it was, but I thought I'd be a relatively good track driver, and I got in, and I was sat next to India's #1 NASCAR world champion, which I didn't realize till I came back and Googled.
Who's that then?
I'll soon tell you.
This is so weird. I'm being joined by my son, Junji for real. Junaid, what are you doing? I'll put you out somewhere.
I'm loving the videos coming out from your channel.
Yeah, those of you that haven't checked out Junji for real at Junji for real on Instagram, go check him out. He's put up some magic videos, and he's been doing some animation as well. So he's getting into some pretty fancy video stuff, as well as, of course, his incredible car tricks that he always does. But
he seems to be quite a magician.
Yeah. No, he's actually genuinely very good at that sort of stuff. So no, definitely. Yeah, and he's available for hire for a small fee, of course. I might be taking a little bit of a commission there, but he's available. So he's up for that. He's free over the summer, so anybody got any gigs, lined up in the London area, you can come and do it. Say hi to Riff Turo. How you doing? Thanks for joining us. So those of you joining us, like we did before,
welcome.
We're online, Brown Car Guy with Planet Auto, and we're just going over the stuff that we've been up to and what's been going on in the world of cars. And we've just been comparing notes on driving on track. And one of the things I was saying, that one of the things I've learned over the years, like I said, I'm not boasting of being any great track driver or anything like that, but one of the things I've found is that it's quite weird when manufacturers launch cars or take cars to the track, because some cars don't work on the track.
Yes.
Some cars actually are great road cars and don't work on the track. And vice versa, some cars are great track cars and actually they actually suck on the road. You know, so and it's very rare to find that balance where the car works both on the road and on the track. Now I'll give you an example. I've never been a fan of the current GTR. Shock horror! Am I allowed to say that?
I was going to say, and I'm sure that they did a track edition only for that. Because I think, was it Top Gear or someone did it, and it could literally only go on the track.
Well, I didn't drive the track edition only, but a couple of years ago, I did drive the regular GTR for the first time on a track. Now the reason I've always said with
Have you driven earlier GTRs? I mean, like Skylines and that?
Yeah, no, those are great. I remember driving an R32. I remember reviewing an R32 here years ago, and that was great. I loved that.
I've driven an R33 for 6 months. That was entertaining.
Yeah. They're lively. They're lively. I mean, they'll play, but they'll give you something else. And I think that's the problem I have with the current GTR is that it doesn't give you anything. It does everything extremely efficiently and awesomely, and it's just too much. It just does too much. So on the road, I found that it was quite an intimidating thing because it was one of those cars where. So I'll tell you a little story. So this was going back maybe 8 or 9 years ago when I was still doing a Middle East edition of Car. And me and the deputy editor, we were doing a twin test. For some reason, we had the GTR and we had the Cadillac CTS-V. That was with the, I think it was a 5-liter V8, 575 horsepower, something like that, you know. Manual gearbox, saloon car with a manual gearbox, you know. And we took off down one of our favorite roads over to the east coast of the UAE. And he was in front and he was pushing it in the GTR and I was all over the back of him with the Cadillac. And we got to the other end and we compared notes and we're like, wow, you know, we're really quite surprised how quickly those two cars went. Yeah. And he said, I couldn't drive the Cadillac as quickly as you drove that. And I said, well, let's see about the GTR. So I drove the GTR to another leg of our route. And it was phenomenal. And at the end of it, I jumped out of the car and I gave him the keys back straight away. And he goes, what's the matter? Don't you want to drive it anymore? I said, look, I could drive this for the rest of the day, and I could probably go quicker and quicker and quicker until I crash and die. You know, that's what's going to happen. You know, because it's one of those cars that will just go as quick as you dare go, but you don't feel that it will tell you when it's going to let go. That's the problem.
Interesting.
And so fast forwarding back to a few years, couple of years back from now, I finally got to drive one at the Autodrome, and suddenly it made a lot more sense to me because on the track you could start to really push it and really start to understand what it did, and it was just so much more impressive on a track than I'd ever found it to be on the road. So
that's crazy.
It's quite interesting.
That is very crazy, considering all the videos that are out there of, you know, GTRs being floored around roundabouts and dual carriageways and so on.
Yeah.
I'd like to experience that just to see how it does perform on a track now.
Yeah, no,
that's one for the bucket list.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. Hello to I am Saqib. How you doing? You joined us last time. You're back again. So here we are,
Thank you.
Car Guy at Planet Auto, and we're just going through what we've been up to, cars we've been driving and stuff like that. So I mean, so you had a couple of cars. So you went to the BMW driving day, but then you had a Mini after that, and you had a BMW as well.
Yeah, Martin was very nice to give us a 3 Series 318D and the 60th anniversary Mini Cooper S.
Yeah.
So we went down in a 508.
So let me just say, I was quite jealous when I saw you guys with the Mini, because I like Minis, and I thought, oh, that's a good looking one. It was really nice. And then you said it was automatic, and I was like,
it was. Honestly, it was a very good driving experience, very engaging. I drove the JCW last week, and it felt far too lively. Yeah. It's almost like the traction control or something was off. I mean, if you put your foot down, I've driven cars with torque steer before, but this thing was almost skipping.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've never driven a JCW before, so I don't actually know if that's what it's supposed to do. Are they supposed
they're very lively. Was this the one with the roll cage, or was it a regular road car?
No, it was a roll cage. Ooh, nice. Yeah, this is a road car.
A few years ago, I think maybe not in this generation, but a few years ago, they did do one with a roll cage as well. So.
Ooh.
Yeah, but the John Cooper Works. Yeah, it's a nutty little thing, but it's highly enjoyable.
Yeah, well, that's what I found about this. I mean, it was only 190 horsepower compared to what is it, about 230, something like that. So there's not that much in it. And according to what I've read about the 60th anniversary, it does 0 to 60 in anything between 6.7 and 7.1, which is pretty quick for a 7-speed automatic with a a 2-liter turbo.
No, it's a fun little car, but I think with those cars, it's more about the experience than the outright performance. It's just
it is definitely
how you engage with the car and how you enjoy them.
I'm assuming it's electronic power steering, but it's weighted so much it feels like hydraulic.
Is it electronic? Because
I don't know.
To be. Have they updated it now?
I assumed it would be because it's new, but I don't actually know.
Yeah, I'd have to look into that.
I
don't know if they've updated them.
It feels
you might be right though, because obviously that now forms the platform for the new 1 Series, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So they might have changed it.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't actually know.
Electric power steering is still so difficult for people to get right, honestly.
Yeah, well, Annabelle, if you saw last week, managed to drive the MG ZS EV as well.
Oh, the EV. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
How was that?
She found it absolutely immense in the fact that she could drive around congested London a lot calmer than she would be able to in, say, a manual.
Yeah.
Because it had enough oomph to zip between 30 and 40 miles an hour quite easily. The other thing was, have you seen how much it is?
No, I don't know. We saw it at the show, didn't we? We saw it at the London Motor Show, where it was basically debuted. But we didn't. I don't remember if they told the price there or not at the time. Hello to Rahan, by the way. Thank you for joining us.
The price wasn't revealed there.
A Brown Car Guy live on Instagram with Planet Auto. Thanks so much for joining us. Any questions you guys have, just please fire them at us. We're talking at the moment about the MG EV, the new car that was launched at the London Motor Show, where we both actually saw it, but you had experience with the car.
Yeah, well, Annabelle and Joseph drove it, and it's absolutely staggering how far it's come, because it's now got 163-mile range, and that's on what they class as, country driving and so on, doing a long haul. But as soon as you move it into a city environment, it increases to about 230.
All right, so in town it'll get 230, and on a longer run it'll get 163. Interesting.
Yeah.
Are all manufacturers issuing two ranges now?
I honestly don't know. It's the first time I've heard it.
Yeah, me too. Normally they just give you one range, don't they? And it's just that.
Well, yeah, that's what you expect, isn't it? Like Tesla 240 or whatever it is.
But also with electric cars, it's kind of tricky because sometimes, I mean, from my limited experience, I remember driving the Chevy Bolt.
Yes.
And, I'm an electric car skeptic, but we took it all the way from Dubai over to Fujairah, which is at the other side of the country, East Coast. So that's about, 300 kilometers, just under, something like that. And we used up about half, I would say half a tank. It's not half a tank really, is it? About half the charge, right? But what we found, that going up the hill, so you have to go over the mountain range to get to Fujairah, to get to the East Coast, right? So there's a lot of climbing involved, high-speed climbing. And at that time, we used up quite a bit of the battery. But then what happens is that then there's a downhill bit, right? And then you put it onto regen. And I remember recouping about 30 to 35% of the battery charge.
That's crazy.
Yeah, just because of the downhill bit. So by the time we got to Fujairah, it actually recovered that.
Yeah, that's where the MG ZS EV comes in as well, because I think it's got 3 or 4 modes called KEPs, which is something to do with Formula One, of what I've heard. And it's got these different modes of regenerative braking. But here's the big question. How much do you think it will retail for?
Oh, I don't know. I'm still struggling with the pricings over here, because the prices of cars here tend to be a bit higher than I remember, put it that way,
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, what's a regular MG? Let's do that. What's a regular MG ZS? Which I should know, because I did review it recently.
Anything from about 12.5 to 17.5.
17.5. So let's say £23,000.
You're right. Interesting. Right. I think. Well, the clever thing is, at the moment, you get that whatever scheme that they give you about £3,500.
Yeah, there's a government cashback.
Electric vehicle grant. Well, they knock off 3.5, and for the first 1,000 people who buy it, MG will match it. And I think the car works out. Is it about 23,000?
For the exclusive trim, yes.
Yeah, 23,000 for the exclusive trim. And this is close.
Hey, that's one for me.
Yeah, you're pretty much dead on there, to be honest. Yeah, with the reductions and so on.
Yeah, I just snatched that out of the air.
Yeah, maybe you've been in the car industry some time. I don't actually know.
That might have something to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah, intuitive mind and such. But the kit on it is amazing. I mean, it comes with things like adaptive cruise control. The other one was NCAP 3. This is targeted for NCAP 4, NCAP 5, depending on how it goes, which is considerably better. And it's quite amazing, because it is going to be the cheapest electric SUV in the UK. And it's an SUV.
That's extraordinary, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So tell me about how long did you have the car for?
What, the SUV?
The MG.
Annabelle had it for, I think it was about 4 hours.
Oh, right, okay.
But that's because it was a launch from Marylebone. I can never say that word.
Right,
London.
Right.
Let's say London.
Marylebone. Just go Marylebone.
Yeah,
Okay,
that,
fine.
Marylebone.
So, all right, okay. So it's part of a launch thing, right? Okay. See, so my question with EVs really is about living with them. You know, it's about how they actually are. You know, to live with, to charge and stuff like that. Now it's funny because since we last spoke, because I think I remember saying to you and to some other people that just even looking around my area here, Kingsbury, Northwest London. You know, previously I found only one charger that was up at the top where the petrol station is near the big roundabout. But since then, I see that they've started to demarcate some areas on the high street where it says electric cars only. So I think they're starting to put some chargers in and stuff like that, which weren't there before. And already I'm starting to see a few more around. You know, not quite in people's buildings, but certainly in public areas and in car parks and like in the local Asda, for example, here. I've seen a couple in there and stuff, you know. So they're starting to get more and more of them. So the real question about this is really, is it now feasible for people to own and run these things, you know?
I know. Well, that's it. People will probably know that I live around the Lake District just outside Kendal. Now, I never, ever used to see Teslas this far up. And I mean, never. And now I've actually seen 2 drive through my village, which is absolutely immense, considering the majority of them were in London or the Midlands. Because Michael used to see quite a lot around Nottingham. There was a company, I can't remember its name, something like Custard or something, and they made it their ethos to go out and buy a load of X's and S's to be this new company that had electric cars.
Right.
But to see
so
them
it's all about being in a city environment, in an urban environment where people feel that they can charge them, but sort of the range anxiety probably getting to people when they're thinking about going out of town. So it's interesting now you're saying that that's changing a little bit.
Yes, completely. A lot of the high-end hotels around here as well have got Tesla superchargers and the standard EV chargers you can find in places like Ambleside and Windermere now, whereas you never could. Because there was no call for electric cars. You'd see the odd i3. That's about it.
I love that picture that was circulating of a Tesla being charged from a Tesla charging station, and the little Tesla charging thing was actually then connected to a petrol generator, which was actually.
Oh, that's amazing! I'll have to look for that. That's like a meme
around.
You know,
it's been doing the rounds for a while.
That's a meme of a meme of a meme.
Yeah, that's hilarious. But talking of EVs, of course, we've had some supercar, hypercar EVs launched. And hello to thanks for joining us. And just to introduce to those people watching us now, thanks for joining us. Again, this is Brown Car Guy, Shazad Sheikh, joined by Planet Auto. We're just talking about what's been going on in the world of automotive, what we've been up to, and happy to take your questions as well. And I was just going to bring up hypercars. And of course, since we last spoke, Lotus,
you're going to mention the Lotus, aren't you?
The Lotus has revealed their hypercar.
Yeah.
You know, the 2,000 horsepower from a Lotus.
Yeah, I know.
Avea, which is their EV hypercar, 0 to 100 in under 3 seconds. I mean, literally, do you need like a neck brace to drive this thing?
Yeah,
this
exactly. Yeah, you need to change the gravity in the car just so you can drive it.
But the thing is, interestingly, they're claiming a 400-kilometer range for this thing, so you could go touring in it. This is incredible, and a charging time of 18 minutes. I don't know how they've done that.
That is rapid charging at its finest. I don't think there's anything remotely close to that. I thought it was about 45 minutes.
No, that's incredible. Hello to Sunny Evenings. That's Ali. How you doing, Ali? Thanks for joining us. We're here live. This is Brown Car Guy. So that's joined by Planet Auto, and we're just talking about the world of cars, and happy to take any questions as well. But yeah, so some people have said, you know, is it Lotus to do this thing? And I'm like, okay, you know, I'm biased, honestly, because I just love Lotus. So I can't get away from that. But the way I would justify it is I think that Lotus for a long time has been in a little bit of the doldrums. I mean, they haven't launched a new car for 9 years.
No.
Their financial situation has been up and down and all over the place. And I think that for them, it was a case of, you know, putting a flag down and telling everybody, you know,
we're still here.
Yeah. And I don't think that the Avea is typical of what's to come from Lotus, but I think that's basically them saying, look at us, look at what we can do. This is what we can achieve. And then there's other cool stuff going to come in below that. That's what I reckon. Hello to Detail Central. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no, that would make sense.
Go on, Ben.
Hello. Yeah, they basically pulled a McLaren, haven't they?
Yeah.
Where they've gone, ooh,
Yeah.
we've got this new technology. We're going to make something that's going to appeal. Now, the biggest challenge they're going to have is convincing someone to pay what, 2 million for a Lotus
1.7 million
Hypercar.
pounds.
That's what I mean.
That is
it's
crazy.
a large chunk of money. It really is, especially.
Oh, by the way, plus taxes.
Yes. Let's try and forget that word.
Yeah.
Let's hope Boris sorts that.
Yeah. But the thing is, like 130. Imagine this: 130 of these are going to be built, right? At 2 million a pop. Think about that: 260 million in the bank.
It's crazy, isn't it? Crazy
but
money.
You know, think of it this way: that's nice development money for the next Elise.
Oh yeah.
You know what I would love to see? You know what these manufacturers doing these continuation projects? Hello to what is that?
Yo IT10.
Yeah, how you doing, man? Thank you for joining us. We're here live. This is Brown Car Guy, Should I Shake, live with Planet Auto. We're talking about the world of cars and what we've been up to and stuff like that. And we're just talking about the Lotus Evija.
Have you noticed it's not died once this time?
Sorry? Repeat that, Ben?
Have you noticed it hasn't died once? It died 3 times last time, and it's been seamless.
I think that's because my kids are not home.
Oh, so they were hammering your connection, right? That makes sense.
They're probably trying to soak up the internet. So at the moment, it's just me and this. So that's good. So
I was going to say it's working very well. Yeah,
it's nice to do it in one go as well. That'd be quite good. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's utterly bonkers, but I do think. So what I was saying, continuation cars. We've seen them from Aston Martin. We've seen them from Jaguar. Please, Lotus, I want to see a continuation Esprit.
So do I. Yeah, I'd love to see one of those. I mean, it's like when Lamborghini did the Miura concept. It was a Miura that just looked wider and slightly more retro.
Yeah.
Do something like that. Lotus, create something that's going to make the blood pulse.
Yeah, basically, keep the same shape.
Yeah.
Keep the same external shape, right? Yeah. But just make it mechanically updated.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So
feel like the David Brown Automotive Mini.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Something like that.
Have you got anything on review this week, then?
For those joining, just check out. And Junaid's on there. Junaid must have heard me say. Junaid must have heard me blame the kids for soaking up the internet.
Yeah, it's looking that way.
Yeah, yeah, all right.
Oops.
Whoops.
Amusing. Have you got any cars on review this week, then?
Okay, so let's hang on. So let's just read this out from I Am Saqib. I'm not a fan of EVs. Still, countries depend on hydrocarbons for producing electricity. Well, that's a very good point. You know, I mean, where is the electric power coming from? And I often say is that we're not really solving the problem. We're just moving the problem. So we're just moving it out of the cities. That's all we're actually doing. But it's still a problem. And I keep saying that I think EVs are a stopgap solution or part of a solution, but I don't think that they are the end-all solution. I think that we need something else. And honestly, personally, I still I put my faith into hybrids for the time being. I think that they're the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I like hybrids. Well, you know, I like hybrids. One of my favorites is the i8. I love it. You know, I'd have one of those tomorrow because I can put it in sport mode to charge it. Who needs to plug it in when you can just drive it like a lunatic to charge it?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I drove the i8 at the launch, but I haven't driven it since then. But it was a very, very interesting.
Well, the launch right at the beginning.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't have been an X-Drive, would it?
Well, I don't know. I guess not. No,
that's what I mean. You need to drive the X-Drive now. It is so planted. Such a fun car.
Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, that's interesting because I wasn't like totally blown away with the car. So maybe it would be interesting to try the new one.
Yeah, that was fun. I had it for about 11 days, and I put 3 tanks of fuel in it.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how much I loved it. I just kept refilling it.
Oh dear, but yeah, I mean, I tell you the hybrids that I didn't used to believe in.
Prius.
I drove the Fisker Karma. A few years ago. And that was a range extender hybrid. And to me, range extenders didn't make sense. I mean, like, okay, you have an engine in there and it doesn't do anything?
Yeah.
So I didn't really believe in them until I reviewed the London Taxi recently, the new one.
That looks good. I know it's not got the longest range in the world, but it's basically the size of a Cullinan by the look of it.
Yeah, well, to be honest, it's actually not that much bigger than a traditional taxi. It just looks it because of the way that they've designed it, and
Okay.
they've just given it a more spacious, a much more spacious interior.
Right.
But they can do that because it's an electric vehicle, but it's a range extender hybrid, so it does have a 1.5-liter little Volvo engine in there, and that only comes on, but that only comes on when it needs to in order to charge the battery. But as far as the taxi drivers are concerned, they can go around driving the thing in full EV all day long, and with the sort of, it got about 100, I think it's got about 150 mile range and stuff like that, which honestly, during the course of a day in London, is actually sufficient. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So what they're finding is that the taxi drivers basically are using it on EV during the day. So that's why they're just whisking around quietly in London. And then by the end of the day, when they're running out of charge, they can just basically use the range extender to get home. And then when they get home, they can just plug it in, ready for the next day.
I am Saqib. That's what we're doing. We're discussing how to make ICE efficient or more efficient, because all hybrids going further, they are evolving, aren't they? You're getting bigger ranges, you're getting smaller engines, and you're getting lighter cars, so you're getting a much more efficient system.
Yeah, well, I mean, you talk about efficiency. If you want to talk about efficiency and power, I mean, how much horsepower are they getting out of the Mercedes A45 from a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine? I mean, that is incredible.
Yeah.
What they're managing to do with these things is absolutely, it's bonkers, actually, if you think about it.
Well, it's completely thrown me how, when you can get 225 brake horsepower out of a 1.6 petrol, and I'm thinking my Orion injections used to be 105 brake horsepower with a 1.6.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, same with the BMs and that.
People keep talking about all the power and so on. Now, when people drive a Toyota 86, a GT86, as they call it here, and they say that, it hasn't got enough power. It's got 200 horsepower. My E30 325i had 170 horsepower. And that was
my Golf GTIs had 138.
Yeah, so it's like, come on.
Oh, I know, it staggers me. Have you driven the 86 or the BRZ?
I've driven the 86 a lot. Yeah, that's one of my favorite cars.
I've driven the BRZ, and I love that. It's so much fun. It makes such a growly noise. Yeah,
no, it's great. The Boxer engine is a very distinctive sound. So it's a very nice engine. Yeah. But the 86, I've driven it extensively. Absolutely love it. And to anybody that says it's underpowered and it's not. It's perfectly balanced. Yes, it can do with more power, but as it exists, it's absolutely fine. And also, there's a little bit of a myth about it being this drift car, but it's not really a drift car.
No.
Because, it kind of is and it isn't, because there's kind of two types of drift. There's, if you like, the traditional initial D type of drift, which is basically using weight and momentum of a car to drift a car, right? So it's not using power; it's just using the pendulum effect of getting the car sideways and then balancing it, which is something that requires a lot of skill.
Oh yeah.
Then there's the more common modern way of drifting, which is used in all drift time, which is basically power.
Have you drifted then?
Sorry?
Have you been drifting before?
I've had a couple of goes.
With
limited success.
I intuitively correct the drift.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't drift because I feel out of control. So I intuitively correct it. And the guy's like, "You have to let go," and I'm like, "I'm not. There's no way. I can't."
Yeah. It's quite tricky because what you have to do is you have to get through that self-preservation instinct of your brain barrier. You have to break through that, because basically drifting is being on the other side of the edge of grip.
It is.
Right? Which for most human beings is a very uncomfortable place to be.
It is.
Because you don't want to be in a car that's not actually gripping.
No.
That's called drifting. That's actually what drifting is. So you're quite right. It's like the immediate instinct is, especially for people like us who have been in these situations, when you lose control of a car, you immediately correct it, or you slow down and you catch it, and you don't want to have a crash. So
exactly. Yeah.
But drift drivers, they have to go on the other side of that and then stay there.
It's the same with like the guys who do Paris to Dakar and that.
Yeah.
I knew a driver once, Richard something, I can't for life remember, and he used to wear. He had, I think it was a Discovery, and it used to do 0 to 60 in about 4 seconds. I was like, "What is it?" And he said, "It's a Paris to Dakar racer." I was like, "Oh!" And he says he was permanently driving in the bit where, when you crash a car and everything goes into slow motion.
Yeah.
He was permanently in there.
In that realm. Yeah. Everything is much slower for them. Yeah.
How? You see something and then have to slowly even though you're actually doing it fast, but your mind's working so quickly that it appears slow.
It's absolutely bonkers, and I've
Yes,
got a
it
lot
is.
of respect for rally drivers.
Yeah.
Huge amount of respect, and
Especially
I've got
Group Bs.
Sorry.
Especially Group Bs.
Especially anybody that's doing that kind of stuff, and just as much respect for navigators.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
how
yeah.
they're able to
Yeah, I know.
maintain what they're doing in
Yeah.
a car. So I did an event with Mini once
Yeah.
where we had like basically like half an hour's tuition on how to be a navigator.
Oh dear.
And then we got to go out with, have you heard of Nasser Al-Attiyah?
Yeah.
Middle East rally champion, right? And he's done international stuff. Basically, he's good at everything. He's even an Olympian as well. He's got Olympic, I think he's got Olympic bronze medal as well. And so I got to go out with him in the Mini, in the
Welcome
rally
Ian
rate
to
Mini.
515.
Yeah. So and then basically now, unfortunately, the sound didn't get recorded. The video is there, but the sound didn't get recorded because I started off trying to do this thing, and then I just completely lost control of it, and I just started shouting out instructions, and all you see is just him laughing his head off, and he's just babbling away.
Yeah.
The car's still going for it, breakneck. You know, he's just going for it because he's Nasser Al-Attiyah. You know? But I mean, the level, the speed at which he was driving, the level of control, but also the level of nonchalance that he had whilst he was doing it, and because he was just laughing his head off at the same time, because he was just listening to me spouting all of this nonsense, and he was just laughing. He was just like, Shazad, you know what
I would
doing?
pay to listen to that. I really
so that
would.
was, I wish I had recorded the sound, but you can just about see what's going on.
Yeah.
And then of course I had to go in that car, which was phenomenal. You know, so I got to take that one to drive an actual rally car. So that was pretty.
Oh
awesome.
my.
So
yeah, no, they're so
got to do
so
a few
quick,
light jump bits.
They're just like lightning.
Yeah, but also like it's the suspension of those things, especially the rally raid cars.
Yeah,
the suspension is just phenomenal.
Big travel.
Yeah, because we were out in the desert doing this, and so you're going over ruts and dunes and stuff like that, and basically you're just flattening everything. You're flattening the desert. That's what it's like. You know, it's phenomenal. You know,
I need to
and then
experience
Nasser
that.
did some massive. He did some massive jumps at the end of it, and literally you think, okay, I'm going to break my spine when we land, but you land and you're fine. And then literally you regress to a little kid, and you're like, Nasser, do it again, do it again, do it again.
I can understand that. I really can. Every time I've been out on any kind of car experience, I'm just like, that's so cool. We need to do that again. You know, I have to experience it just to see.
Have you been out with a drifter? Have you been out with a drifter?
No.
Oh, you've got to do that. Oh man, it's just the most funniest, hilarious thing. It's just brilliant.
I can imagine.
Ian. Thanks for joining us, Ian. I hope you're well.
Grab the wheel.
Sorry? No. You just look out the side window and laugh. That's what happens. You know.
Well, right. Actually, I've not been out with a drifter, right? However, in 2015, I did get to co-drive with Nelson Piquet Jr.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
In the BMW i8 safety car at Donington Park, and yeah, realistically, he was drifting permanently.
Yeah.
And he was so, you know, he was just like looking out the window and everything, you know, and he's just doing this with his little finger, and this car's doing all this. And I mean, I think this safety car, it had 37,000 euros worth of AP racing brakes. It had a completely rebuilt chassis, and it had a higher kilowatt engine as well, something like 150 as opposed to 110.
Yeah, he must have done to get it to drift, and he must have been able to switch all the traction systems off as well. That's the other thing.
Yeah, it was just, I was sat, I mean, if you go onto YouTube, you'll actually see me, and then in my northern thing, I say something along the lines of, which makes me cringe to this day, you definitely got your skills off your dad then, didn't you? Grins at me. I was like, oh dear, I couldn't sound any more Sean Bean if I tried.
Oh my God. So let's just say hello to Ian, who's joined us. Ian, who is actually going racing himself this year. So good luck to you, Ian. I hope that works out. Hi to Alex69 Ali. Hi to Janez J. And hello to Habib. How you doing, man? Hello, sir. He's a well-established, well-respected, very senior journalist of the Middle East, Habib Chouari, who's joining us there. Nice to see you, sir. So, so we are live with myself, Brown Car Guy, Shazad Sheikh with Planet Auto, and we're just talking about what we've been up to and what's been going on in the world of motoring, and taking some of your questions as well. So feel free to jump in. So we've been talking about, we've gone from new cars to hybrid cars to minis to drifting and to rallying. That's we're not really sticking to any particular theme here.
We never do. We never do anywhere. We didn't even in the interviews, did we? We started off going, oh, so what are you doing? Oh, let's move to here, and so on. Have you got any cars on review this week? Because I've got a rather special one.
Have you? No, I don't have anything at the moment. No, the last one that I reviewed, I've got something coming. The next one I've got coming in is August. And, of course, I reviewed the DS7 Crossback, which is now live. I reviewed that. Actually, it's live in several places. I reviewed it
I've seen that.
News on their website. It's in the Asian Leader newspaper in Manchester, which I think is out this week. And it's also just gone live on Drive Tribe as well. So search for My Tribe, which is the Brown Car Guy Tribe, on drivetribe.com, and you'll find it there as well. Another thing that an article I'm really quite pleased with that I put onto drivetribe.com last week is my roundup of the best car of every year of the greatest decade ever, which was the 1980s. And that's had, I think it's had over 180,000 views on Drive Tribe now. So
that's immense. Well done.
Yeah, so it's done really well, and people have really enjoyed it and got a lot of great feedback. So do go and check that out if you get a chance. But and that was good fun to write, because that's my scene, you know.
Yeah, same with me.
It's really hard. To be honest, it's really hard because there's so many. When you start to go through, and I did miss quite a few cars, but when you start to go through the cars of the 80s.
Well, there's DeLorean's 80s, isn't it?
It's just endless. It's just never ending. It's like, that's a good one. Oh, that was a good one. Oh, that's an even better one. It's just, where do you stop, you know?
You just need to start thinking about the movies and looking at the cars.
Yeah. That was one of the things about, I think, particularly the 80s, where, and to be honest, I think even for me, because a lot of my car interest and my car enthusiasm comes from pop culture, I think, you know.
Yeah.
Because we discussed this last time, and it's like nobody in my family was ever interested in cars. You know, like unlike a lot of people, my dad wasn't into racing, my uncle wasn't a mechanic, or nothing like that. It's just purely somehow I was into cars. And my earliest memories of cars are seeing them on television and movies, you know, and just going gaga for that, you know. And I think that's how a lot of people relate to them. And I think particularly the 80s helped for that, but also the 70s, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of great stuff in the 70s as well. I'm sure there are a lot of people who say 60s as well. 60s, I mean, you got the muscle cars, you got the Bullet things, you got Le Mans movie, you got Grand Prix movie. So I mean, some incredible stuff in the 60s as well. So I think
that's it. And then you go further back to the 50s, and you get some of the beautiful Jags as well.
Yeah.
So
but
it's like anything.
But this is the thing. It's like the 50s for me. I don't know about you, but for me, the 50s starts to fade away a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like that doesn't, I mean, it doesn't register as much.
No.
So kind of mid 60s onwards for me is kind of when it kind of really starts to kick in.
I think like it's probably 70s for me then, which would make sense. Things like the Miura onwards.
Yeah. It's definitely a generational thing. I think you relate to the cars that you kind of you've grown up with. I think that's often the case, you know.
Countach.
Countach, stuff like that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I think that's definitely got a lot to do with it. Is what cars that influenced you when you were younger. And I think they form your interests even going forward, you know.
Oh, they do.
That's not to say the new stuff isn't great. It is. But, you know, you can't help but look back, you know. And I think you've got to look back to look forward, right?
Yeah, you do, certainly. Well, that's what they did with the P72, isn't it, by De Tomaso? They looked that way and then went, ooh, we'll make it look like this for now.
I think with that one, I think they did that, but I think they also spent a little bit too much time watching Wacky Races. You know?
You need to see it in person.
I know. I just can't help look at it and just.
I know.
I get it. Really cartoony to me.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. I've seen it race down the track. I've also seen it on the stand. I think my TikTok video's currently got about 2,380 hearts on it.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, that's what I mean. This car is just climbing and climbing, which isn't bad for an account with 3,000 followers.
Yeah.
But outside. I've currently got.
How can people follow you on TikTok? How can people find you on TikTok?
TikTok, you just go to TikTok, type in Planet Auto, and you will see lots of car stuff. And I mean loads. Everything from Goodwood, and then we've got all the other stuff, including some of the car reviews. I put on the more special stuff. For example, the Ayrton Senna NSX that we were lent by Honda for 7 days.
That was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to get something else off them at the moment, but it's working out which one to go for. It'd probably be something Mugen.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. But yeah, what we should do is when I get one of these is meet up somewhere and have a crazy day of Mugen.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's absolutely do that. Yeah, I'm a real Honda guy, as you know. So I love Hondas. I've not yet driven that current Type R.
Oh, it's
I,
immense.
I struggle. I
immense.
have to be honest. I struggle with the looks of it.
Really?
Yeah, but
I
a lot of
think
people
it
say
looks better than the previous version. I think
yeah,
the previous
but a
version.
lot of people say that when you drive it, you forget the looks. But
You will.
I do struggle with the looks.
The FK8 is absolutely immense. I exited a slip road at a speed that I didn't think was possible on the slip road. I spoke to everybody at Honda, and their exact words were, we wouldn't have one as a daily racer because we would get banned too quickly.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And I said, I can completely relate. I mean, it does 0 to 60 in 5.7, but it does 0 to 100 and no, 0 to 60 in, is it 5.3 and then 0 to 100 in 11.7?
So I've just got to stop you there for a minute. You've got to keep talking for a few minutes because I've just had a message from my son. He says, "Can you open the door?" He's actually put a message right here on the Instagram.
Oh,
I'm just going to run and do that. Just talk amongst yourself for a bit.
Right. Yeah. Welcome. I'm chatting with Shazad Sheikh, the brown car guy. As you can see, he's left a nice picture of there's some motor in the corner. I can't actually see what it is, but we've got a window there. So we're chatting about everything and anything to do with cars. The cars that I've been driving this last week, some of the BMW powerful things like the 850, and we're just about to talk about the review car that I've got outside, the brand new Skoda Scala.
The Scala, that's nice. Say hello, hello, by the way, to Jero212. Thank you for joining us. He's hungry.
Aren't we all?
Sorry, you may have tuned into the wrong live thing. This is not. This is not Brown Car Restaurant Takeaways.
There's some Big Tom.
Hello to Bikes, Cars, and Cars for joining us. So we're here.
Welcome.
Brown Car Guy, Shazad Sheikh joining with Planet Auto. And I had to just disappear there for a few minutes. So what were you talking about whilst I was away? You were talking about your Skoda.
I just gibbered about the things I was driving. And I was quite intrigued by this. When you disappear, the window stops going white and you can see a car in the car park.
So at the car park from where I am at the moment, there's a Volvo of some kind and there's a little Mini parked out there.
Ah, right. Well, I could see the headlamps and nothing else, and a window.
So that might have been a Volvo, actually. The red Volvo S40, maybe? Something like that? Not very exciting.
So,
let's talk about the Skoda.
Let's talk about the Skoda. I think that's
more interesting.
Well, there's my view.
Blinding. It's just blinding. I can't see it.
That's it. All you can see, it's like to the right of you, all I can see is what looks like white.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Hi also to Do Cam and to Huram Tenny. Hello, thanks for joining us. We're here live with Planet Auto, just talking about cars and stuff. If you guys have got any questions, jump in. Yes. And we are now going to talk about the Skoda that you've got on test. Yeah,
the Skoda Scala. I mean, it's literally been out about 1 week, hasn't it? Something like that.
What is it? What is a Scala?
A Scala. You know the Skoda Rapid and the Rapid Spaceback? It's replaced those.
Okay.
But
so is it kind of like a crossover now or what?
No. Just looks like a car. But it's a decent-sized hatchback.
Right.
And as standard, it comes with things like basic LED headlamps and soft touch plastics on top of the doors. But the crazy thing is, I mean, this is me we're talking about. I ended up with 62 to the gallon the other day.
Wow. That's
1 litre, 3-cylinder. Well, it is for me. If you watch any of my reviews, you know, I am known to have a lead foot.
Lead foot.
Yeah,
one of those. Yeah. So is it a petrol or a diesel?
There's a diesel model and a couple of petrols as well, but we've got an SC. But the crazy thing is, it starts at 16,500, which I think is relatively good value for a Skoda that's basically WVG, built very well and does 60 to the gallon and can still pull 0 to 60 in 9.8.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
So well worth checking that out. Hi to Insta J. Thanks for joining us. And so that's pretty cool. So let's start to wrap this up and let's tell people where they can follow how you're getting on with that Skoda and where people can find you.
Well, YouTube, Planet Auto, you will see loads of stuff We've had some challenges with the microphones this week. My phone decided to put on noise cancelling whilst interviewing people with cars. So you can hear me and then you can't hear anything else. That was challenging. So instead, it's the Canon job, because I had to buy a new mic because that broke as well. It's all part of this car. It may point out I'm driving a little quick on bends. Who knows? Yeah. You can find us on YouTube as Planet Auto. There's about 300 or 400 videos. We're also on Roku as well. You'll find interviews with the Brown Car Guy. You'll find our adventures on there as well. We're also
How has that been going? Did we get much response from that?
Yeah, we're getting slowly getting response on TikTok, on Roku and YouTube. But you know what it's like with YouTube. If you put something out that's a bit special, it takes a while to get traction. Whereas the MG ZS is flying. 1,100 views in about 24 hours.
Yeah, I think the new unusual stuff is often the stuff that picks up. And there's a good point you make also about sound. I mean, it's something that I've struggled with a lot, is trying to get the sound right. I bought a new mic, which has helped. But it's always a tricky thing to get that right, because it's one of those things you never know if you got it right until you're editing putting it together. So
it's when you watch it, you're like, oh dear.
Yeah. But anyway, stay tuned. I might be doing something interesting tomorrow. Maybe, maybe not. We'll find out. So yeah, just stay tuned to my channels or Instagram and all the rest of them. BrownCarGuy.com, #BrownCarGuy. That's where you'll find me. So this has been our not weekly catch up. It should have been a weekly catch up. But so at the moment, this is our fortnightly catch up.
Yeah, that'll do.
And it's been good fun. Hope you guys have enjoyed that. Sorry?
Maybe stay tuned over the weekend. I may be driving or looking at an M6 and possibly a heavily supercharged Jaguar. You never know.
Ooh, the supercar Jaguar has got me interested. The supercharged Jaguar has definitely got my interest peaked.
Yeah.
I like that sort of stuff.
But yeah,
so cool. Thanks to all those people that joined us. Hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned to all our channels. Keep following, and we will try to come back again live. Hopefully around this time next week. And
that'd be perfect.
To see you guys. Yeah, cool, man. All right, all the best to you.
See you later.
See you
Thank you.
soon. Bye.